everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here today. All right, excellent. So this is the second part of my webinar series on facilitation. So a very quick introduction about myself then for those who hasn't met me before. So my name is Ming, and I am a change consultant and a project management consultant, as well as enterprise agile coach, and currently working as a senior partner for Leadership Tribe. So for some of you who has attended the last section is about facilitation and the role of a facilitator. Okay, so in that particular webinar, we explored a lot from the facilitator's perspective, and that including, what the facilitator mindset should be, and what are the stances, facilitators use, and also what are the core competencies one need to possess to become a very successful and effective facilitator. We also, at the very beginning of the session, introduced about what the facilitation is. And this is what we've done in part 1. So today, as I've mentioned, is part 2 of the facilitation webinar. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore on the other side of the story, which means we're going to explore a little bit about the process. Okay, what are the processes which we need to use in facilitation? And I'm going to weave in some of the tools, some of the techniques, and some of the challenges and how we tackle them in this process. Okay, all right. So if there's no further questions, let's kick off. And before we're moving, to the topic today, I would like to just to recap on what we have discussed on facilitation, just so the participants, who hasn't attended the first session are aware what we're talking about, so we're on the same page. So when we talk about the facilitation, okay, for those of you who are already aware of it, and I would like you to, because I know some of you have attended the session, okay, so have a reflection back on the webinar which we have spent an hour together a month ago, and then trying to recollect what are the key characters, or key features when we talk about facilitation. You can use the chat window. Okay, you can tell me what do you still recall about what you have learned from the last webinar. Okay, I will give you a quick minute for that. Again, there's no right or wrong question. There's no right or wrong answers. Whatever you recall or whatever you know, you are right according to you. Okay, and if you haven't been here before, and just tell us what you know already about facilitation. Okay, so I've got some answers pouring already. So I've got empathy, active listening. Okay, being confident and unbiased. I love that. Okay. And differences between facilitation and training. Yes, we covered that in last session as well. Beautiful, thank you. Accommodating and moving the flow with outcome. Beautiful, thank you, Martin. The 7 C's, okay. Beautiful, thank you, Akash. All right. Thank you all very much. I'm actually very pleased that you haven't given all the information back to me yet. Okay, so I'd love to be that information to be as sustainable as possible, like as long as can last. So as a team, as a group today, let's have a quick recap of what facilitation is. Okay, so I have listed out a few keywords here as what we have discussed in the last session. So just quickly recap. So we talk about facilitation is a fluid process. Okay, so it's not so much about the content, but it's about the process, and the process is not rigid. Yeah, it's flexible, it's fluid. And as a person, as a facilitator, we can use different tools, different techniques, and we can apply different activities in this process to make sure that, the people are engaged, and then the people are committed to the actions, or committed to the decision making. So we work together as a group and we achieve the group goals at the end. Okay, so it's not about you as a facilitator, it is about the group and what the group would like to achieve towards the end of the sessions, or as a group outcome. It's the group which matters. And as a facilitator, we mentioned about the two key things. One is the person has to be neutral. You know, someone has mentioned about empathy and exactly, and like non-judgmental, because end of the day, it is about the group. It's not about what you think as a facilitator or by inside saying, oh, I think team A is right and team B is not so right. It's not like that. It's about the team. What does the team think? Okay. And for you to be able to facilitate this process, you need to be curious. Yeah. As long as you're being curious, and the more curious you can be, the less judgmental you will be. Okay, so when someone raised a point, you'll be curious to find out, or what actually made him or her saying things like that, and what is the point that he or she is not agreeing, what is the root cause of this particular problem, so on and so forth. So you are curious and you are intrigued to find out more and to help the team to achieve its goals. Okay, all right. So since we are here today, let me ask you a question. Have we all been sort of like meetings in our professional lives? Okay, I would hope that's a yes, but if it's a no, then you know we probably need to relook at facilitation. But let me ask the question again. Have you all been attending, you know, some sort of like meetings in a corporate setting? Can you use your chat window and let me know, please? Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. So there's loads of yes flow in, which is great. Okay, so now, interesting enough. Oh, we have a graduate. All right, that's okay. That's okay, Akash. You will learn more, okay, in this session. That's okay. So most of us are professionals, and we have been into meetings or workshops or some sort of, you know, like gatherings in that sense, that we are working in a corporate context. And for those meetings and for those professionals like who has actually attended those meetings, I have got two questions for you. Okay, so understanding most of us has been into the meetings. My first question is about the percentage of your working hours spent on meetings. Okay, so I have got a poll question here. What I would like to do is tell me what are the percentage of your working hours are spent on meetings. I have launched that question, and I'm going to give you a quick 30 seconds just to tell me what are the percentage of working hours you spend on meetings. Okay, so that's our 30 seconds done. And let me just stop the poll here. All right, and let me show you the result. Okay, so what I've seen here is, looking at the percentages, right, almost over 40% has said we spend between 40% to 60% of our time on meetings. And then almost 30% said we spend between 60% to 80% in meetings. And I think that two groups actually stand for the large majority of this team. Okay. And if we look at it, that's not a small amount of time which we spend on meetings these days, is it? So majority of us spend a significant amount of time on meetings. All right, so my next question would be, out of all these meetings which you have attended, how effective do you think your meetings are? And what percentages are unnecessarily and poorly run according to you? Okay, so some of us spend a lot of time on meetings, but what are the percentages which are unnecessary and poorly run? So I'm launching the second question in the poll, and then I'll give you 30 seconds to tell me your answers, please. Okay, that's 30 seconds, and I'm just end the poll there, and I'm going to share the results with you. So as you can probably see, okay, 1/3 of us spend between 20–40% of the time, and we think they are unnecessary and poorly run, and then about 29 saying less than 20%, and about 24%, 1/5, saying that between 40% and 60% of meetings are poorly run. Wow. Okay, and I would like to take a pause and think about your answers. Okay, and for all it's worth, maybe trying to bring these questions back to your team as well as a reflection, and asking them, hi people, what do you think of our meetings? How effective are our meetings? And what are the parts which we think are poorly run or unnecessary? Ask these questions and see what happens. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave these questions open to you because ultimately the action is within you. Okay, I can tell you the information which you need, but I cannot enforce you to take any action. So take a minute and think about it. In the meanwhile, I have got another quiz for you. Okay, so take a guess, please, in terms of how many people do you think have ever daydreamed in the meetings? So this is there's a research being done. Okay, I will provide the reference in a bit. So take a guess. How many of the 10 people daydream in meetings? Just have a random guess, and you can use your chat window to type a number for me, and let's have a look on what people think. Okay, I have got like 7, 8, 9, 3, 10, 100%, 80%, 8, 4. Okay, my knowledge is very confident. Thank you. Okay. Okay, 9. Anyone else? 5. All right. Okay. I am afraid, Manoj, I am going to let you down on this one. Okay. However, Ed is not as bad as 100%. So according to a research which is being done in 2014, 9 out of 10 people daydream in meetings. 9 out of 10 people daydream in meetings. However, given set of which this research is done in 2014, which is far before the COVID times, and which is far, like before we actually all migrated into a different ways of working. So on that basis, I will not be surprised if the number has increased by now, let's say 9.5 or 10. I will not be surprised. Okay, so what does that tell us? How effective are our meetings? And if you look down, and there are some further stats in terms of like meetings. So let's have a quick go through of them. So the first one says 25% of meetings are spent discussing irrelevant issues. Irrelevant issues. It's quite funny because when I look at this data, I immediately has recalled an example. Okay, and this is a real life example. And in one of the Steelco meetings, whereas I was working in a bank, and in one of the steering committee meeting, like all the senior stakeholders, program managers, and the program sponsors attended. And then I heard one project manager who literally said, like behind me, he spent 20 minutes out of that 1 hour meeting talking about the program which he has watched the day before, which is about penguins migrating. 20 minutes out of 1 hour. And when I heard about this, I couldn't believe it. First of all, I couldn't believe how time is wasted on irrelevant issues like the penguins migrating. Not that I don't care about global warming, but still, I don't think there's anything to do with a banking, organization and steering committee. And another thing I was surprised about is no one, okay, during this 20 minutes has actually told the person saying that enough, let's move on. No one did. So what happened is a group of senior executives literally sat there and listened to his story about the penguins migrating, which makes me feel, well, he must be a very good storyteller. Okay, so think about it. How many minutes of your meetings are spent on irrelevant issues? Moving on, next one says 50% of people find meetings to be unproductive. Okay, 50% unproductive. So this is a question I want you to think of. Are we having meetings just for the sake of meetings? Because we have got the team meeting scheduled every Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. That's why every team member has to be there from 2 to 3 and spend an hour together, because it's just for the sake, it's set up and we have to be there. And what are the considerations which you have given to these meetings? Do you actually review these meetings on a regular basis? Do we still need it? Can we reduce the time, or can we actually remove people who don't need to attend or who don't have opinion to provide, so on and so forth? And what are the levels of thinking or planning have you put into those meetings? And also, ultimately, it's come down to, are you actually making good use of people's time? Okay, are you making good use of people's time in the meeting? And next figure says 73% of employees do other work in meetings. 73% of employees do other work in meetings. Okay, so this is another horror story from my end, because this again is a real life example. So in one of the program team meetings which we have attended, and I think one person forgot to switch off his mic and to switch off his video. I think the mic was off, sorry. He forgot to switch off his video. And everyone was having a meeting. Everyone was trying to listen to people saying what has happened, what's the latest update. And then we saw these people moved back slowly to the room, grabbed his guitar, and he was playing it. Okay, so he was playing the guitar where we are having a program meeting. So apparently, okay, he didn't know he was still live, and then someone has messaged him, and then he actually jumped up and then switched off his video. But that is also a message to me saying that, not talking about other work, okay, because it's not uncommon for us to hear someone or typing away, whereas we're having a call, but are they actually doing work? Okay, this is another factor we need to think of. Are they doing other work, okay, in the meetings? And the last one here, which we provided, is 75% of the people have received no formal training on how to conduct meetings. So for people who don't know how to leverage, the best of the facilitator stance, how to best leverage the competencies and the processes, can we blame them? The answer is we cannot, because people don't know what they don't know. Okay, if only they knew better, they would have made a different choice. It's like me speaking to me being a consultant. If only I knew better back then, I would have made a different choice. I would have approached certain issues, certain people in a completely different way. But that's not their fault. Okay, so that's why there are lots of meetings in the market. Facilitation, coaching, whatever helps to improve your capability, to improve your competencies as a leader, as a Agile coach. So explore, okay, explore in the market and find out what is there. And Leadership Tribe, we are a member organization for IC Agile. Okay, we do provide IC Agile authorized courses in team facilitation, in team coaching. If it's something which you would like to explore further with us, by all means, reach out and we can take it from there as well. All right, so we have talked about all these ways and all these figures. And then one thing it all comes down to is the meetings, especially the ineffective meetings, they are costly. Okay, they are costly. So thinking about all your meetings, which has the one which I've mentioned, involving senior stakeholders in the steering committee, not only talking about senior stakeholders, talking about the other people, okay, in the organization, like the team members, the team leads, working together. We are not only talking about their salary, which is being wasted in meetings, which does not create any value. We are also looking at the opportunity cost as well, where their time could be better used elsewhere. Okay, so if they were not in the meetings, they could be doing something better. They could be doing something to create better value for the organization. So are we enable them to do that? Okay, are we able to create that space or create that time for them to do that by eliminating the meetings or by optimize our meeting processes? So this is something which we're going to explore. All right. So next, we are going to look at the facilitation process. So what do we mean by a facilitation process? Okay, as we have talked about, the person is one set of story, the process is the other part of the story. So if we look at the facilitation process, it is the task-specific thinking frameworks we employ to help groups achieve useful and sustainable outcomes. So again, this is something which we can apply to help us to achieve something better, okay, something great and something sustainable. So if I'm asking you the question, so if you just trying to think back on some of the great meetings or some of the not so great meetings which you have attended, and then trying to think about how was the meeting conducted, what are the steps or what are the processes which those meetings have to go through. I think most of you would actually agree with me saying that we're looking at a 3-step process. Okay, so it's very simple. It is about what we do before the meeting. So we prepare, we plan, and then what we do during the meeting. Okay, so we get everything prepared and we are here delivering it, facilitate it. And once we facilitate it, once the meeting's done, and we move into the next stage, which is the post-meeting stage as well. So this is very easy. And when I'm having this facilitation courses, I ask my participants, saying that thinking about before the meetings, what do you actually do to prepare for the meeting? And my participant would tell me saying that, oh, I would prepare like what needs to happen, in the meeting. I would like to think about who do we need to invite for the meeting. And, I would like to find out the perfect time so that everyone can attend. And also, if it's going to be in person, like in a meeting room, are we going to have the meeting room, have a logistic fixed, and so that we can all, go in the meeting room and have a perfect meeting. And that's all perfect and beautifully thought through. However, what I'm thinking is probably you have known that by now. There's one very important thing missing here. Okay, one very important question missing here. And that question is why? Why are we having the meeting in the first place? Why is the meeting needed? And before you plan into every detail, ask the question, why are we having this meeting in the first place? Okay, so everyone knows that right now we are in a global pandemic called COVID. Yeah, and I wonder if you have heard another global epidemic, which is called MAS. Okay, M-A-S, MAS. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so MAS stands for Mindless Accept Syndrome. So this is a term which I have learned from a TED talk, which is by David Grady. I have provided a link here because I think it's very interesting. And I actually think everyone should watch it. So the link is there. By all means, have a look offline and then take some hints from him. So he actually introduced this idea of mass, saying that this is another global epidemic which is carrying on right now, because as soon as we see an email coming through, an invite coming through, what we do is we don't even think about it. We just click accept. Next one, accept. Next one, accept. I remember in my corporate working days, okay, working in a bank is like huge organization. We have got meeting invite from the project, the program, the portfolio, and the department, and the organization, innovation, IT, business, you name it. There are millions of different groups which I'm part of. And every day we saw this email coming, I was like, okay, and just by accepting all these meetings, my day is literally full. However, when you think about how many of the meetings I do need to attend, the answer might vary. Okay, it can be a different story. That's what I mean. So by all means, right, when next time you see an email saying that inviting you to this meeting, try not to accept it just yet. I know there's always tendency saying click yes, but try to stop yourself from doing that and ask yourself the question, why? Okay, why? Why is this meeting, and why am I needed in this meeting? Trying to get answers for those questions first before you can actually accept the meetings. And in the planning stage, there's another top tip which I would like to give to you, okay, which is, here we go, to plan the meeting with design thinking. So a lot of meetings which we conduct is because I think there's a need for a meeting. I think, we need to do this so that we can achieve something. And I think, we need to gather around, we need to do something. However, meetings, and for having a successful meeting, okay, I would advise you, do not assume anything. Okay, do not assume it's needed. Do not assume saying that, we have to get this done. We have to get people's opinion, and always trying to validate. So if someone can just type in assume in the chat box, please. assume. Don't worry, it's not a trick question. You can just type in assume. Thank you, Ed. So this is assume according to you, right? And this is my assume according to me. I've typed in the chat window as well in capital letters, as you, me. So do not assume anything unless it's good intention. Okay, and do not try to make an ass out of you and me. And then Chitra, you can do the post editing by beep my voice, okay, in terms of that word which I just used. Thank you very much. Okay, do not make an ass out of you and me. Yeah, do not assume. Always validate your thinking. And in this context, what I mean to say is, please always trying to put your user at the center of the experience. Always trying to understand what do they need. It's not about you, it's about them. Yeah, so trying to help them understand from their needs, understand what they want from the experience, so on and so forth, and take from there. Put them at the center of your focus and give them the love, you know, which you want to, okay? And then trying to help them understand what is the purpose, the why behind it. And by having this, what are we trying to achieve, okay? And if at all possible, right, trying to get them some sort of like basic understanding of the agenda and how do we actually have the flow, how do we actually design the whole thing to get on. And then in this process, try to think of something fun, okay? Even though we are adults in this world, nothing can stop us from having some fun, right? Okay, so trying to infuse something fun. And also, please do not send someone meeting invite with a blank email. Okay, I absolutely hated that myself when someone sent me a meeting invite and there's the title of the meeting saying that catch up, and then in the context there's nothing. So trying to draft something and then let them know, saying that this is what we are doing, and then so that they know, they anticipate what is happening. Okay, so that are the two things which I would recommend which is absolutely essential in the planning stage. So now let's go back. So now we talk about planning. And then what about during the session? So we planned it to every details and now we are literally there. Okay, we are standing in front of the audience and we are trying to facilitate a particular meeting. So for that, we need to talk about different stages in terms of how do we dissect this particular meeting. And for that, I think, again, there's 3 easily spotted stages: opening, doing, and closing. In the opening stage, and this is where you're going to welcome everyone, you know, make them feel comfortable and make sure that everything's okay. And you probably, you know, will check in with them and see how they're doing and how was the day, say hi, you know, warm them up a little bit. And also trying to go through the agenda in terms of what is here, you know, we are doing today. And then what are the expectations, like what we have done in the beginning. I actually mentioned saying, okay, this is the what have we done before, what are we going to do today? And for today, I anticipate we to work together, have great fun, so on and so forth. So have something of this build up. And I would tell you a secret, because we do trainings and we do a lot of things in that and facilitations. We actually did experiment. Okay, we actually experimented it, but don't say it out loud. So we worked with different group of people. For some groups, right, we actually allow them time to introduce themselves, to tell us a little bit more about themselves rather than their roles. And for some group people, we carry on with the training. So we skip the part of having fun and we just carry on. And what I found is it's very obvious that the group actually spend a little bit of time bonding, knowing each other as a person. They work together much better than the group which we skip that part. Okay, so this is from my experience. So sometimes you just think about if it's a new group of people never met before, trying to help them to blend in, checking with each other, you know, and then build that sort of like psychological safety, saying that it's okay, you know, we're going to work together and there's no silly questions and we're going to help each other to achieve the outcome which we're here to do today. So very important. And another thing which we always stress in our training session is about social contract. So social contract is nothing, it's just about agreement of how are we going to work together as a team. So for example, you know, if it's going to be, you know, as I've just said, like no silly questions, and a contract can be, we are going to help each other to understand the matter, and, you know, we're going to respect each other's opinions, so on and so forth. As a team, you can come up with loads of ideas in terms of how you would like to work as a team. And also that's also recognize each one of the person as a unique individual. Okay, and how you can work together, you define it together. So that's the opening part. And once we set up the scene, warm everyone up, okay, so now we are great. We have set the pitch high and we are going to work together in the session now. So we are actually doing the work. So facilitation is nothing but a process flow of constant diverge and converge, okay? So you can think about it as a diamond. So it's like diverge, converge, and diverge, converge, diverge, converge. So it's a flow of diamonds, a flow of diverge and converge. What I mean by that, for example, we have got a problem which we want to discuss in the particular meeting. For that particular meeting, what we want to do is we want to understand, first of all, what the problem really is, because Ming's problem might be different from Ed's problem, okay? And Ed has got a different understanding of the problem, which we need to make sure that we lay our understanding, on like in front of us. So we make sure that we're on the same page, saying that now as a group, we all know what the problem is, like what the problem really, really is. Okay, so we all know what the problem is. So by doing that, we discuss, okay, what is your opinion, what is my opinion, or what is the underlying problem which we might have. So you diverge on that thinking. And once you have got all the ideas, you're trying to converge. So our understanding is that, and blah, 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 blah. So you can actually narrow and summarizing the whole thing down, saying that this is what we are really talking about. So you identify what the problem really is, and you might want to discuss some solutions. And again, I might throw out my ideas in terms of, I think this is the way forward. And then someone else can tell me, my note can tell me something else, saying that, I think this is not the way forward. I think we should try something else. So we get our ideas across, we understand the whole picture, and in this process, there can be some really creative ideas coming out. There can be really great ideas and solutions popping out. So as a team, as a group, we heard everyone in the room, and we understand, saying, okay, these are the potential ways we can apply to move forward. And what are we going to do about it? Because apparently we cannot do everything, okay? We need to prioritize, we need to decide what are the next actions. So by doing that, we're trying to converge again. So if you look at the whole process, it's keep on diverge, converge, diverge, converge. And as a facilitator, what you're doing is managing this process. Because sometimes as a diverge, people can go like fly in the sky, like phew, and then disappear, right? Because something is far more interesting. Talking about which, if that's what the team chose to decide, saying, okay, this is what we want to discuss. So instead of the destination which we came here for, now we are changing the course. And that's okay, because it's team's decision. Okay, I'm actually preempting you because I know someone would be asking that question. So listen to the group and what the group want, and then take from there. And in this process, as we were saying, there will be some voices who are quiet. There will be some voices who are loud, okay? Normally speaking, the loudest voice got heard, but the quiet voice do not get heard. So what can we do, to actually encourage everyone to spit out what their ideas are? And that's a different perspective which we need to look into as well, in terms of how do we encourage people to participate? How do we actually elicit information from them? And by that, we talked a little bit, in the last session in terms of we need to ask questions, we need to apply active listening, and we need to provide constructive feedback so that we collate all the ideas back and we have everything which we need to help us to generate a solution or to get the problem resolved. Okay. And in this process, there's another thing which I would like to draw to your attention. So sometimes we have got a large group to facilitate, and we have got people like 20, 25. And what I would say is for any group which is more than 12 people, think about bringing a co-facilitator with you, okay? A co-facilitator. And I'm sure that you have seen this like a rally, like the off-road racing, where you have got a driver. Okay, so he is in charge of the wheel and then drive across the road, and you have got a navigator sitting next to him. So the navigator, will be like reading off the set of the pace notes, and will be telling the driver, saying, okay, there will be a turn ahead, and then the severity of the turn is blah, 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 blah. And also there will be an obstacle coming ahead, like in 50 miles or something like that. So they will be doing all the sorts of like, information, watch out, what are the things you need to be aware of. Similarly, in the facilitation process, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing. So when you have larger groups, okay, think about bringing a co-facilitator. And there are reasons why we do that, okay? So I've listed out a few here. So the first one is strengths, okay, capitalizing on the strengths. As human beings, we have got different strengths and weaknesses. How can we capitalizing on the strengths from different facilitators? Some facilitators, they are very good at storytelling. Some facilitators, they are very good about putting across an idea or a concept. Some facilitators, they're good at something else. So use those strengths and bring those strengths together so we can deliver a wonderful session. And next one, in terms of energy, I recall I've been in a training session, which is literally 5 days of training, 8 hours per day. And it's about, training the senior leadership. So first of all, I think it's already intense enough. Okay, you have to, present and you have to be there at the top of your work. And also, I think you have to arrive early, prepare for everything for the day. You need to leave late so you can get the time to catch up and get some feedback with the leaders, so on and so forth. It's exhausting. It's tiring. So what you need to do is work with your co-facilitator. You can take part of it. I can take part of it. When you take the part, when you are delivering, I can relax a little bit, reserve my energy. And when I'm doing it, the other person can reserve their energy. So these are the things which you need to take in turns so that you conserve energy and make sure that every time which you deliver something, you're at the best of your marks. Okay. And next one. So maximizing diverse resources. So everyone, okay, you have got different resources which you can bring to the table. And no one can have all the skills, all the competencies, or all the tools, or all the resources that one can have. Yeah, it's not for one person. So if you bring that different, like a diverse resources, and you can help to maximize those resources and to make sure that they're utilized to maximize the potential of the success of the workshop. And having an extra pair of eyes, ears, hands always helps. Okay, so when one person is delivering, the other person can keep an eye across the room and monitoring how is the energy level, how are people doing, do people look confused, do we need to provide example here so people can be more like intrigued or something like that. So you can provide that instant feedback to the delivery person and saying that this is what I can add, this is what I can do to make sure that you deliver the ultimate the best. Okay, and the last one is regarding mutual support. So indeed, all as human beings, sometimes we have got emergencies, okay, and we need some support from other people. And I recall in one of the cases where one of my co-facilitator has got a personal emergency, okay, and literally he is in bed, he couldn't get up. And me as a person have to deliver the 3 days all by myself. But just imagine if I'm not there. There will be no one to deliver on the last minute call. Okay, so try to think from that perspective, provide that support each other need to help you to provide the best of the sessions. And that's one thing which I need you to think of. So we talk about co-facilitation, and the other thing is we have a lot of challenges as we're facilitating the sessions. Okay, I have listed a few here, and I'm sure that you might have come across a few if you have ever hosted or facilitated a session. So difficult people. All right, I have to share an example here. When I was a consultant, okay, I recall, I still vividly recall this discussion which I had with another colleague of mine. So unfortunately, that discussion wasn't at all pleasant. So as the gentleman turned around and walked away, and I look at him, I'm thinking, what a, okay, this is where the beep, beep, beep comes in, okay, probably in a long line of beeps. And then I was thinking, all of a sudden, it's just like a thought, what kind of a woman would marry that kind of man? Okay, that's me being judgmental, sorry. I didn't know back then. And with this information, a few weeks later, I overheard my other half on a call, okay, with his colleague. And all of a sudden, it's like a pin drop for me. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, the other person on the other end of the call must be thinking, what kind of woman would marry this kind of man? Because he was horrible on the phone, according to me. Okay, he was horrible. And then I was like, okay, actually, he's not a bad person, But in that particular scenario, he is being difficult. And then this helped me to reflect a lot more on my working relationship with my colleagues and how they appear to me and how they make me feel, and in terms of how I call them difficult. But then I changed my perspective, because at the end of the day, it's not about the person. It's not about the person. It's about that behavior at that particular point of time. So whenever you're working with some people which you think at the moment are difficult, please do not think in that way. Okay, so this is my real life experience. I'm telling you, it might be the behavior at a point of time, trying to understand what makes the people say what they're saying, trying to be curious, trying to be empathetic in terms of what is troubling them, what actually stopped them from performing at that top, what is actually, the problem which they're dealing with. Right now in the COVID times, everyone is having a difficult time. We get that. Okay, we really get that. So it's not unusual for us to have our own sort of like the low moment. So trying to help, trying to be there for the people. And I've also mentioned here the awkward silence. Silence is awkward, but can we use it to our advantage? The answer is yes, we can. Okay, because if there's silence, people will be diving to fill in, saying, I don't feel comfortable, so let me say something. Let me fill this gap of silence, and let them, give them the space and let them fill in terms of the awkward silence, okay? And as a facilitator, use the silence as one of your most powerful weapons to make people talk, to make you hear them, what they are talking. And again, I've mentioned here like a boring content. So I've been in this meeting where someone came in, and I still remember like throw the documents on the table saying that, okay, this is going to be a very boring meeting, but we have to do it anyways. So let's kick it off. And imagine how would that actually have an impact on the rest of the people in the meeting room. I'm afraid not so positive. Okay, so even if something might be boring, even if something might appear to be not so interesting of all people, what can we do about it? What are the content, what are the things which we can do to make it more fun? And this is context-based, so I'm not able to advise more, but I would like to make you to think about it. What is that you can do? Okay, definitely saying something is boring is not going to help. And maybe you're trying to think about something else in terms of how can we make it more fun? How can we make it more acceptable? Maybe it's like a big chunk of steak. You cannot eat in one go. Can we slice it? Can we actually put a bit of salad into it? Can we do something to mix it so that like getting more flavor, so it's easy for people to chew and swallow? And this is something which I will need you to think about it. All right. Another thing I mentioned here is a low energy level. So energy level is, I think it really depends, okay? And then there are some techniques which you need to build into here, which means like what time you're having the meeting. Okay, generally speaking, people are more energetic in the mornings than early afternoon. Okay, so probably the energy level will dip and they will come up again. So if you do want to plan a meeting which will involve lots of thinking and probably you need more engagement, so trying to see the variables like what you can control. And also for some of the exercises which you can build in, and in terms of, like getting people into a team, have a bit of exercise, and also even make some physical movement, okay, in that sense, to actually get them more engaged, to actually increase the energy level. Think about it. There are different techniques which we teach about in our ATF course. However, for the time of this course, I don't think we will have the time to go through everything, but also check online as well, like what are the games, to help you to improve the energy level. And another thing is sugar level. Okay, now it's more difficult, but I recall previously, before we're going to have a very difficult meeting, we used to bring donuts. Okay, donuts to the meeting, because people need the energy, they need the sugar level so that they can be pumped up. They'll be like, okay, now let's do this, and then get those things prepared for your team. And then trying to think from that end as well, how you can help your team, even in a virtual environment, how can you help them to be more engaged? Okay, and there are many, many more challenges. One thing I would say is, as a facilitator, do not shy away from the storm. You have to stand in the storm. Okay, you have to have the faith in yourself, and you have to have the faith in your participants that they have got answer within them. And all you need to do is help them to get the answers out. Okay, and please be creative, be agile, be flexible and change according to the plan, and then use your sense of humor. Yeah, that's what I would say. All right, so that's during the stage. And let's have a look on what is left. So post. So once you finish the meeting, we need to close the meeting. And this is where we need to probably go through the work which you have done today. Okay, so it's like a checklist. So, okay, we set off to do this, we have completed blah, 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 blah. And then we have got the several actions, which someone else is going to take it, maybe go through those actions as well. So people are on the same page and we have the same understanding. And then take that time and opportunity to thank everyone for participating. Very important. Okay, and thank them for participating in the class and also help them to conduct a retrospective in terms of how do you think which we have done? Yeah, what is it that we can do more? And these are the things which we need to do in closing the sessions and post the session. So once we finish the session, what we need to do is we need to have a look in terms of what we have achieved and then debrief the stakeholders in terms of, okay, so this is what we discussed. I understand that you were not able to make the meeting, but have a look on what we have achieved during the meetings. And also try to have a look on the actions, like who has agreed or committed to do what. And also how do we actually use the information, right, to restart, to prepare for the next meeting. So use all this information and then coming back into your next meeting preparation. And that's finishing our facilitation process. Okay, right now we are in the virtual setting and I appreciate that everything is actually in the virtual and for some of the tools or some of the things which you use are different. So here I have actually prepared some of the virtual meeting tools and I'm just very quickly show you that. So for some of the very popular and I think widely used virtual facilitation tools, there are some tools which we store files and we share files. Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, you know, like some organizations are using them actively. And for some of the whiteboard and the post notes, those are the boards which we use, Miro, Jamboards, Stormboard, Trello, or even Trello, you can use it as Post-it as well. I personally prefer Jamboard, Trello, and Miro, okay, because for me, they are very effective and helps me to actually do the planning and, you know, on the whiteboard, and I can share with the team as well. Video conferencing, obviously there's a Zoom, there's a Team, and there's Google Hangouts. So explore all those options. And we also use some survey tools. Okay, so maybe not necessarily for your meetings, but should you need to get some feedback, you know, from the team and to get some surveys and get some answers from the organization, and you can think about the tools which is listed in there as well. Yeah, depends on organization. You might have some already, but these are some of the tools which are commonly used. And the last one is regarding engagement, yeah, audience engagement. Again, there's a Storms and there's a Mentimeter, and those are the popular ones which is being used. Okay, so we have talked all this about the tools, about, you know, the facilitation tools, and we talked a little bit about the facilitation processes in this webinar. So in terms of further development, yeah, as I've mentioned, right now, what we're looking at is facilitation. So there's a Agile team facilitation course, which is prepared and which is offered by IC Agile. So in this course, you will be learning about what we have discussed so far, but in more details. And there will be, you know, in terms of how do you engage your team, and there'll be more practical and pragmatic skills in terms of what you can do. And we'll be looking at those perspectives in more details and the science behind it as well. And moving on from that journey, you might want to think about coaching. As a consultant, I think coaching literally has changed my perspective, and that's why I said, as a consultant, I didn't know better. But now, you know, being a coach and then getting a professional coaching degree, I think now I have got a completely different perspective in terms of how I see things. All right. So, looking at the Q&A from Zoom, I've got Akash has raised a question. If our boss and senior leaders are involved in the meeting, but you are aware that's just a casual get over, no value addition, how to decide in this kind of situation? When you say decide, Akash, am I right to understand that you mean to say decide to attend the meeting or not? I'm not entirely clear. Okay, Right, perfect. So how do you decide this kind of situation? Well, to be honest, I think, again, it's very context-based. I think it depends on if you would like to get yourself more noticed, if it's something which you think would actually add value to you or the participant in the room. Okay, so if you felt like, okay, this is something, there's a nice catch up and we're just going to know each other as team members and to make my faces, like presentable to the people in the room, by all means. Okay, but again, I'm not saying that you have to, judge every call saying that is there any value adding or anything like that, but it's nice to actually ask the question why first before you go in for any meeting. And this is what I call WIIFM, what's in it for me. Okay, what's in it for me? And also what's in it for them? Does it add value? If the answer is yes, then by all means. If the answer is no, then think about it. If you have the luxury of time, no problem at all. Okay, I hope that helps. All right, it looks to me that that's the only question which we have got. Okay, thank you, Akash. All right, is there any other questions in the Q&A, Chitra? I can't see any. Okay, I just got one here. For a 1 hour meeting, what would be the average time need to be allocated for before? Martin, and post example. Okay, very nice question, Martin. Thank you for that. So ultimately, okay, for a 1 hour meeting, I think, again, it depends on does the team actually know each other, yeah, beforehand, and what kind of meeting is it? And I think generally speaking, I would spend 5 minutes or so, just to catch up. And it depends if the team doesn't know each other. And also in terms of this meeting, do we have upcoming meetings to support it? If it's a one-off meeting, and I would say that make every minute count. Okay, make sure that we are here to deliver the purpose, and also depend on stakeholders. Some stakeholders are very, very hard to get. So if you have those people in the room, spend a little bit of time introducing and then probably having a little bit of warm up and then get them into the content ASAP, because every minute counts for them. If it has got a continuous meeting, you do have opportunity to catch up again, and it's nothing like very urgent, you need to make the call or decision in that meeting per se, and then I think you have the luxury, then you can spend a little bit more time. But I would say for any meeting, thinking about at least 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes towards the end, at least, okay, to talk about those things like what we said in the opening and what we said at the end. Okay, I hope that helps. So next one we have in the line is, so here it says, if the agenda of the meeting get changed at the last minute, is it recommended to postpone the meeting, or how to handle, please? A very good question, thank you. Okay, if you recall, so here what we mentioned is that the meetings, okay, the meetings are for who? For the participants, right? So if the participant says, we don't want to talk about this anymore, we have got the people in the room, we need their skills, their options, their opinions, and we need to talk about something which is more urgent. For example, the company is going to be burnt down if we don't talk about this urgent issue today. And I think you probably will say, yes, let's talk about this more urgent issue. However, you don't have to go to that extreme examples, I'm sorry. But generally speaking, yes. So let the participant drive the agenda. If there's something which they need to talk about, if you have the right skills, right people to provide a solution or to provide a decision, then by all means, crack on with meeting. It's okay. Remember what we mentioned about being agile and being flexible, okay? And those are the moments which you need to deal with. You need to sort of like stand in the storm and then adapt accordingly. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, is there any other questions? I think that's everything. Okay, Shibu has raised another question. How do you keep your stand-up from getting, say, or boring, sometimes feel repeating? Very interesting. All right. There are a lot of information online, Shibu, okay? And I think in terms of those like keeping things from getting boring, and there are different ways how we can actually conduct the meetings. Literally, the meeting will be delivering the same outcome, but the way how we can deliver it is going to be different. So think about that perspective. And there are online resources to tell you, say now, what are the different activities, different tools you can use to serve the same purpose. So have a look in those. And ultimately, you know what, come to our courses, and there are a few things which you can share, but failing that, you know, by all means, check online and see what is information online to help you to change. Basically, it's like the soup is the same, but ingredients changed. And then every time you taste it, it's still the soup, but it tastes different, and it will give you a whole new experience as well. Okay, I hope that metaphor works. Thank you very much, Shibu. Thank you all for your time. And I had a great session today, and I hope you all has enjoyed. And by all means, keep in touch. And if there's anything, you know, which we can help with, contact us, and stay connected on LinkedIn. And if there's anything else, you can get informed in the first instance. And I'll hopefully see you very soon.